First thing you notice walking through a school this size, a community this small, is that you're not walking into a school. It's like you're walking into a home. This is a family. To see a community so close to each other is great, but it can also be tough when tragedy strikes. With only 84 kids in the whole building, you can imagine that when a junior or any student, whether it be suicide or the loss by a car accident or something, you can imagine how this would rock a community. I get the privilege and opportunity to be a source of hope to a community that has been rocked by tragedy. Let's be honest, we are all a mess. And that is the common ground that we must come together and pick each other up. One jam-packed day of counseling, motivating, and teaching the faculty the tools to dig themselves out of the state they unfortunately find themselves in. Hey, my friends, Waupaca Suicide Coalition of Wisconsin, to the school communities of Waupaca, Clintonville, New London, Manawa, and Iola, Scandinavia. Hey, my name is Jeff Yalden, and I'm excited. I know many of these school communities that are coming to the Creating Hope Leadership Summit. You have a program in your school called Sources of Strength. Great program. I'm excited. I'm excited when any school community is trying to normalize the conversation around mental health and suicide prevention. I am your keynote speaker, Jeff Yalden. I'm excited. Listen, I wanted to reach out to you, the community, anyone that's sending their students or their kids. I wanted to have a little conversation with you. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've traveled all over the world, 49 countries, 50 states, every province in Canada. I'm just getting back in. The San Francisco 49ers just brought me to a community in Ohio to talk to the students, the teachers, and parents about suicide prevention and teen mental health. I've dealt with communities that are being proactive. I have had the honor and it's hard to build a career on hardship. I've been to communities where there's been 18 suicides in 18 months. I'm working with a community now that small community in Montana, 18 suicides in the past 16 months, including last week a high school senior class president, captain of the soccer team, and prior to that is a teacher that walked out of the classroom. And anyway, this is not an easy conversation for some people. I do want you to know the last thing I ever want to do is come to a community and talk about teen mental health and suicide awareness or prevention and stress some people that they might go back to their own community and the counselors have to pick up pieces. My friends, that is the last thing I want to do. Having said that, there are some people that can simply be stressed and they might react in a certain way. Here are my intentions coming out there. I want to help normalize the conversation. I want young people to know that it's okay to not be okay. But in not being okay, it's also okay to ask for help. Listen, the bottom line is simply this. 5 out of 5 people have physical health and 5 out of 5 people have mental health. I think when you talk about mental health challenges versus mental health crisis today, a lot of young people are stressed. I think growing up today is harder than it's ever been. Teaching and parenting is harder than it's ever been. But stress today, people are overwhelmed. People are very anxious. So there's mental health challenge where these thoughts and feelings can affect the way you think, the way you act, the way you behave, your emotions. And so that leads into coping skills and problem-solving skills. Mental health crisis takes it to a different level. And it's where the mental health challenge now gets to a point where you might start thinking of harming yourself or harming other people. We have a problem then, and that's something that needs to be addressed immediately. So, having said that, am I going to talk about suicide? Yes, I'm going to talk about why teenagers are thinking about suicide. Hey, teenagers don't want to die. They want the pain to end. But part of the problem is, and it's not their fault, young people live in the here and the now. But life is not in the here and the now. So I'm going to talk about what leads a student to be thinking this way, what happens to a student when they're in the crisis moment, and then also the follow-up, how we as a school community, how we as friends can, if we see something, say something, if we know something, do something. So a lot of your school communities are already using the Sources of Strength program. That is awesome. And I love that our schools are talking about it. But in all the suicide prevention programs, I'll tell you what, they don't talk about what leads a student to this brokenness and these thoughts and feelings, what they're thinking and feeling when they're in that crisis, and a success plan or safety plan following up. So I always tell young people, hey man, my talk is about life. It's really about life. Purpose comes having hope. Having hope comes from having a purpose. Personal responsibility. Listen, don't be afraid to ask questions. Be where you should be, doing what you should do at the time you should be doing it. Education, growth mindset versus fixed mindset. Having a support network, and also self-advocacy, learning to advocate for yourself. 3 things I think are important. Number 1, young people need 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep a night. And if your kid's ugly, then they probably need more. I'm not saying your kid's ugly, but if your kid is anything like my kids where they don't get enough sleep and they come downstairs, I'm like, hey, baby, how you doing? Dad, how about shut up forever? Not enough sleep, bad attitude. Girl, you need more sleep. Number 2, nutrition. It's this simple. Sugar and depression are best friends. So more protein, less carbs. More water, less soda. Less processed foods. So sleep, nutrition. Number 3, listen, we need to take these devices and we need to learn to put them down a little bit, because this should not be your connection to the world. Put this down a little bit. Engage in conversations, which leads me to thoughts and feelings. It's okay to go up to someone and say, hey, how's your heart? Why is that important? I'll tell you, because there's 2 questions that you have to answer every single day. Number 1, can I trust you? And number 2, do you care about me? And when young people know they can trust you and that you care about them, they're more apt to want to talk and trust your opinion and how they might be feeling and thinking. So I know this is a wide range audience from 6th grade to seniors. And so my job is to speak to the audience that's in front of me. And some of you might be like, well, is this appropriate for 5th and 6th graders? I don't know. And if I speak at that level, then it's to the high school sophomores, juniors, and seniors. It's dude, that was boring. The guy talked like we're elementary kids. I don't want to do a disservice to them. But I also don't want to speak to them and do a disservice to the young kids. And I know some 5th and 6th graders that are a lot more mature than some 40-year-olds I know. The bottom line is this. I know my talk is going to go well, because I've done over 4,500 of these talks. But everywhere I go, I'm not a canned speaker. If I can't speak from my heart, if I can't be present and real, because I want to plant seeds. I don't care about being the funny guy. I don't care about did you like me or not. I care about the fact that I have an opportunity and the honor of being invited to speak at this conference, the Creating Hope Leadership Summit. There's 5 communities that are being represented, and those communities are sending their students. And I get to share a message that I guarantee you they'll probably be coming home saying that was the best speaker we've ever had. There are some cases where some people don't hear the message because maybe they're not ready to hear the message, or the message could stress them in a way that they've never been stressed before because they're in avoidance mode. I don't know. But to all the teachers, parents, and counselors, I promise you from the depth of my heart, I never, ever, ever want to leave a child to go back to that school community where other adults have to pick up the pieces that, if I were irresponsible, I would be leaving around. My friends, I'm honored. I'm looking forward to being a part of this day, and I guarantee you, it will be memorable, it will be positive, it will be safe. God bless all of you, and we'll see you next week.